The year was 2279, and humanity had finally emerged as a fledgling spacefaring civilization. After centuries of struggle, they had overcome wars, climate collapse, and resource scarcity to unite under a single banner, the Earth Federation. Colonies had been established on Mars, Europa, and beyond, but the stars remained a distant dream, until the day the signal arrived. It began innocuously enough. Deep in the frozen silence of the Kuiper Belt, an observation station, EFS Pathfinder, detected an anomaly. Initially dismissed as stellar noise, the signal was faint but persistent, an oscillating series of pulses that defied any natural pattern. When decoded, it revealed something chilling, a distress call, broadcast in an alien language, originating 1.2 light-years away from Proxima Centauri. Commander Elise Torin, captain of the EFS Resolute, was the first to hear the translated message. A veteran of Mars' terraforming efforts, she had seen firsthand what the human spirit could achieve against impossible odds. Now, as she listened to the artificial voice pleading for help, she felt a familiar stirring in her chest, hope mingled with dread. Could it be a trap? Her first officer, Lieutenant Raj Patel, asked during a hurried council meeting. His dark eyes betrayed unease despite his composed tone. Perhaps, Elise admitted, but if someone out there needs help, can we ignore them? The debate raged within the council chambers of Luna Command. Skeptics argued it was foolish to risk humanity's fragile unity for an unknown entity, while optimists believed this could mark the dawn of interstellar diplomacy. Ultimately, Elise's conviction swayed the vote. Humanity had struggled too long to turn its back on another cry for help, alien or otherwise. The mission to investigate the signal was greenlit, with Resolute at its helm. Equipped with humanity's first experimental Alcubierre drive, the ship was capable of faster-than-light travel, a theoretical breakthrough made practical after decades of global effort. Still, the technology was untested on this scale. "We succeed, or we learn," Elise told her crew during their final briefing. "But we will not falter. Not while there's a chance to prove humanity's worth among the stars." The crew of the Resolute was handpicked from across Earth and its colonies. There was Dr. Minerva Cho, a xenolinguist whose obsession with alien communication bordered on the fanatical, Chief Engineer Nolan Price, whose gruff demeanor masked an unrelenting brilliance, and Ensign Ada Leclerc, the youngest member aboard, eager to prove herself. Together, they represented humanity's best and brightest. As the ship departed Earth orbit, the weight of their mission pressed heavily on Elise. Beyond the technical challenges lay the unknown. Would they find allies or adversaries? And more importantly, could humanity withstand what awaited them? The journey to Proxima Centauri was breathtaking yet fraught with tension. For weeks, the Resolute glided through the void, its Alcubierre drive folding space like origami. The crew passed the time in eager anticipation, yet unease lingered like a shadow. The distress signal continued unabated, repeating its plea every 13 hours. When they arrived in the system, what they found was both awe-inspiring and horrifying. Proxima Centauri b, the planet closest to the star, was ravaged. Its surface bore the scars of orbital bombardments, and debris fields littered its atmosphere like shattered glass. Orbiting the planet was the source of the signal, a massive alien vessel, its hull pockmarked with holes, drifting lifelessly. "Preliminary scans indicate it's been here for decades," Dr. Cho reported, her voice barely above a whisper. "The energy signature matches no known technology." "Are there any survivors?" Elise asked. "Faint life signs, but barely," Cho replied. The crew prepared to board the alien vessel, tension mounting as they approached. Elise led the away team, her pulse steady despite the unknown dangers ahead. The alien ship loomed larger with every passing second, its design wholly unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. As they docked and opened the airlock, the team was met with a cold, eerie silence. The interior of the vessel was cavernous and dimly lit, with strange, bioluminescent markings running along the walls. The air was thin but breathable. Then, they saw it, the first alien survivor. It was humanoid, with skin that shimmered like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed faintly violet. The being lay slumped against a control panel, breathing shallowly. When its gaze locked on Elise, it weakly raised a hand, uttering a single word in perfect English. "Help." The away team froze. The impossible had happened, an alien who knew their language. Elise stepped forward, her voice firm yet gentle. "We're here to help," she said. "But we need to know, what happened here?" The alien's response was haunting. With its final reserves of strength, it pointed to the view screen. The display flickered to life, showing a monstrous fleet of ships approaching Proxima Centauri. "They're coming," it rasped. "And they will destroy you, too." The alien's warning echoed in Elise Torren's mind as the away team hurriedly stabilized its condition. Dr. Cho worked furiously to administer first aid with limited understanding of the alien's physiology. The being's shallow breaths grew steadier, but its fear lingered in its glowing violet eyes. Back aboard the Resolute, the alien, who introduced itself as Kaler, was placed in a secure medical bay. Through fragmented sentences and faint gestures, it revealed a harrowing tale. Kaler's people, the Sirens, had been a peaceful, starfaring race spanning several systems. Decades earlier, they encountered a predatory force known as the Vraxis Imperium, an empire of conquerors who thrived on consuming entire civilizations for resources. "The Vraxis, leave nothing behind," Kaler whispered, its voice trembling. "We fled, but they hunted us." Kaler was the last of its crew, possibly the last of its species. The Sirens had lured the Vraxis fleet to Proxima Centauri to buy time for their civilians to escape. But Kaler's distress signal had become a beacon, drawing not only the Resolute but also the attention of the Vraxis. For hours, Elise and her senior officers debated their next move in the ship's command center. "The Vraxis sound like a genocidal war machine," Lieutenant Patel said, his tone grim. "If Kaler's right, we could be dealing with a force far beyond our capacity to fight." Chief Engineer Nolan Price scowled, arms folded. "We're not here for a fight. Our mission was to investigate and assist. We should leave while we still can." "No," Elise interrupted, her voice firm. "If the Vraxis are coming, they won't stop at Proxima Centauri. They'll come for Earth. For Mars. For everyone. Running isn't an option." Dr. Cho added, "Kaler's knowledge could be invaluable. They fought the Vraxis and survived. If we want to stand a chance, we need to understand what we're up against." Reluctantly, the crew agreed. Their priority was clear: extract as much information as possible from Kaler and determine if the alien's advanced technology could be adapted for humanity's defense. The following days were a whirlwind of activity. While Kaler recovered, Dr. Cho and her team worked tirelessly to decipher the Sirens' databanks. The alien ship, though damaged, was a treasure trove of advanced technology. Its energy weapons, deflector shields, and navigation systems were light years ahead of humanity's own. But the Vraxis were no less advanced. The Sirens' databanks revealed horrifying details. The Vraxis Imperium's strength lay in its sheer adaptability. Their fleets could reconfigure themselves mid-battle, evolving new weapons and countermeasures in real time. Worse, they enslaved survivors of their conquests, assimilating their knowledge and using it to fuel their war machine. One night, Kaler confided in Elise during a quiet moment in the medical bay. "Your people remind me of mine," Kaler said, its voice tinged with melancholy. "Defiant. Resourceful. But you are unprepared. The Vraxis, they see your kind as fuel for their hunger." Elise's jaw tightened. "Then we'll give them more than they bargained for. Humanity doesn't break, we endure." Kaler's faint smile was the closest thing Elise had seen to hope in its weary expression. Trouble came sooner than expected. While Dr. Cho and her team worked to retrofit the Resolute with siren shielding technology, the ship's long-range sensors detected a disturbance at the edge of the system. A fleet of Vraxis ships, smaller than Kaler's recordings but no less menacing, was en route to Proxima Centauri. Their angular, black hulls absorbed light, making them appear as shifting shadows against the backdrop of space. "They're sending a scouting party," Kaler warned, its voice sharper now that its strength had returned. "If they find you, they'll summon the rest of their fleet." The crew scrambled to prepare. Elise called an emergency meeting in the war room. "We have two options," she began, her voice calm but resolute. "We can run and risk leading them back to Earth, or we can stand our ground and show them what humanity is capable of." Price looked skeptical. "With all due respect, Captain, we're outgunned and outnumbered. Those shields are still half-baked. We're sitting ducks." Elise leaned forward, locking eyes with him. "We've come too far to turn back now. If the Vraxis see us as weak, they'll never stop coming. We need to send a message that humanity won't go quietly." Patel nodded. "Agreed. If we can take down their scouts, we buy time to prepare Earth's defenses." Kaler spoke up. "If you fight, I will fight with you. My people failed, but perhaps together, we can succeed." Elise placed a hand on Kaler's shoulder. "We'll fight, Kaler. But not just for humanity, for all the lives the Vraxis have destroyed." As the Vraxis fleet drew closer, the Resolute took position behind the shadow of a massive asteroid, its newly fitted shields shimmering faintly. The crew braced for battle, their fear tempered by determination. Elise stood on the bridge, her gaze steady. "All hands to battle stations," she ordered. "We make our stand here." In the cold void of space, humanity's first encounter with the Vraxis was about to begin. The Vraxis scout fleet emerged from hyperspace like specters, their angular ships reflecting nothing but menace. There were 5 vessels, each smaller than the Resolute, yet their sharp-edged designs spoke of efficiency and lethality. On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Elise Torin stood poised, her voice calm despite the rising tension. "Status report, Patel." Lieutenant Raj Patel's fingers danced across his console. 5 contacts confirmed. Minimal heat signatures, likely stealth configurations. They haven't detected us yet, but they're running active scans. Chief Engineer Nolan Price muttered under his breath, "Give it 5 minutes, and they'll sniff us out." Elise nodded. "We can't wait for that. Patel, prepare targeting solutions for their lead ship." "Cho, status on the retrofitted shields?" Dr. Minerva Cho, seated at the engineering console, glanced up from her data stream. "Shields are operational but untested under live fire. They should withstand a direct hit or two, but we're gambling here." "We've been gambling since the moment we left Earth," Elise said with a faint smirk. "Kaler, anything we should know about their tactics?" The Siren alien, seated in a reinforced chair on the bridge, studied the fleet on the display. Its violet eyes narrowed. "Vraxis scouts will prioritize disabling your systems to analyze your technology. They won't go for the kill immediately, but they'll overwhelm you if you give them time. Strike fast and decisively." "Understood," Elise replied. "Patel, fire at will when we're in range. Price, prepare evasive maneuvers. Let's show these bastards what humanity can do." The Resolute burst from its hiding spot, engines roaring to life. Its sleek frame glided through the void, a predator revealing itself to the hunt. The lead Vraxis ship reacted instantly, redirecting its scans and powering up its weapon systems. "Target locked," Patel announced. "Fire," Elise commanded. The Resolute's forward cannons unleashed a salvo of energy bolts. The first volley struck true, piercing the Vraxis scout's shields and detonating its power core. The ship erupted in a brilliant explosion, fragments scattering into the void. Cheers erupted on the bridge, but Elise raised a hand. "Stay focused. They're regrouping." The remaining 4 Vraxis ships moved like a coordinated swarm, encircling the Resolute. Their hulls glimmered faintly as they activated a shimmering, adaptive shielding system. "Incoming fire!" Patel shouted. Beams of energy lanced out from the Vraxis ships, striking the Resolute. The experimental siren shields flared brightly, absorbing the initial impacts but flickering at the edges. "Shields holding at 78%, Cho reported. "But we can't sustain this for long." Elise gritted her teeth. "Price, get us some breathing room. Cho, reroute auxiliary power to the shields. Patel, focus fire on the nearest ship. The Resolute spun gracefully, its thrusters firing in rapid bursts to evade the swarm's attacks. Patel's targeting solutions were relentless. With each volley, the Resolute picked apart another Vraxis ship. Second ship down. Patel called out as another Vraxis vessel exploded. But the remaining 3 were learning. Their beams grew more precise, their movements more synchronized. They're adapting, Kaler warned, its voice rising in urgency. They'll exploit every weakness in your ship's systems. Not if we stay one step ahead, Elise countered. Price, bring us around for a direct pass. Patel, prepare all remaining torpedoes. Captain, Price protested, a head-on pass is suicide. It's our best chance, Elise said, her tone leaving no room for argument. We hit them before they hit us. The Resolute roared forward, engines blazing. The Vraxis ships followed suit, their sleek frames closing the gap with terrifying speed. Energy beams streaked through the void, some grazing the Resolute, others narrowly missing. Shields at 42%. Cho yelled. Steady, Elise said, her eyes locked on the display. Patel, fire torpedoes on my mark. The distance between the ships evaporated in seconds. The Resolute's targeting systems locked onto the lead Vraxis ship, calculating every variable. Mark! Elise shouted. Patel fired. A spread of torpedoes streaked toward the enemy, detonating in rapid succession. The shockwaves overwhelmed the lead ship's shields, tearing it apart. The explosion cascaded into the nearest vessel, leaving only one Vraxis scout intact. The remaining ship pulled back, its adaptive shields shimmering as it recalibrated its systems. Elise saw the opportunity. Now's our chance, she said. Patel, target its engines. We're taking it alive. A precision strike from the Resolute's cannons disabled the final Vraxis ship. Its propulsion systems flickered and died, leaving the vessel adrift. Enemy ship disabled, Patel confirmed. Elise let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Secure it with a grappling tether. Cho, Price, prepare a boarding team. We're not done yet. The away team approached the crippled Vraxis vessel cautiously. The alien ship's corridors were dark and foreboding, its walls lined with strange, pulsating veins that hummed faintly. Kaler accompanied them, its knowledge of Vraxis architecture proving invaluable. They won't self-destruct, Kaler said, leading the team deeper into the ship. They want you to explore. To lure you into traps. Elise raised a hand, signaling the team to halt. Stay sharp. If anything moves, you call it out. They reached what appeared to be the command center. A large console dominated the room, its interface glowing faintly with alien symbols. Kaler moved to it, its fingers gliding over the controls. I can access their systems, it said. But it'll take time. Make it quick, Elise said, her pulse steady despite the tension. The hum of the ship grew louder, and the walls seemed to vibrate. Elise's instincts screamed a warning. Something's not right, she said. Suddenly, the console flared, and a holographic figure materialized before them. The Vraxis commander, a towering figure with angular features and glowing red eyes, regarded them coldly. You fight well, humans, it said in a voice like grinding metal. But your defiance is futile. We are coming. The Vraxis commander's holographic form flickered for a moment, its menacing red eyes piercing through the darkened command center. The alien's words echoed in the chamber, sending a chill down Elise Torin's spine. We are coming. There was no doubt in her mind now. The Vraxis had taken notice of humanity, and they would not stop until they had crushed them. Elise stood tall, her mind racing. Kaler, can you break their encryption? She asked urgently, trying to mask the tension in her voice. Kaler nodded, its sharp eyes scanning the holographic interface. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. But I can access the command protocols. You don't have much time, Elise warned, her gaze flicking to the door. The low hum in the walls seemed to intensify, a subtle warning of something impending. We need answers. Now. The alien worked quickly, its slender fingers moving across the alien console with a fluidity that seemed natural despite the unfamiliarity. The walls around them seemed to grow even colder as the seconds ticked by. Suddenly, a new hologram appeared. This time, it wasn't just a projection. The image was accompanied by the eerie glow of an incoming transmission. It was a map, but not a typical star chart. This was a battle plan, detailing Vraxis fleet movements across known space. Elisa's heart sank as she saw the trajectory. The Vraxis have already mobilized. This is a full-scale invasion, Dr. Cho said, her voice strained. They're targeting Earth. Mars. The inner colonies. Elise turned to Kaler. How long until they reach us? Days, Kaler replied grimly. They move faster than we can calculate. The weight of the situation hit Elise like a sledgehammer. The Vraxis weren't just coming, they were already on their way. The Resolute was the first line of defense, and it was woefully unprepared. Humanity had barely begun to fight back, and now, they had no choice but to stand against an enemy that had wiped out entire civilizations. We need to warn Earth, Elise said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. Patel, get us back to the Resolute. We're leaving. Back aboard the Resolute, the crew worked quickly to regroup. The mood on the bridge was grim, but the resolve in each of their faces was unmistakable. They had fought the first wave, and now they had to prepare for the inevitable onslaught. We can't fight them all, Lieutenant Patel said as he worked at the communications console. Their fleet's too large. Our best bet is to send a warning and get Earth's defenses ready. Elisa's gaze never left the viewport as she surveyed the distant stars. We'll fight as long as we can. The Vraxis are coming for everything we've built. For every human life. Kaler had been silent since their return to the Resolute, its mind clearly working through the horrifying implications of the Vraxis fleet strategy. The Vraxis are ruthless, Kaler finally said. They will use fear, subjugation, and overwhelming force to break you. But humanity is unlike any species I've ever seen. You resist where others fall. The praise was bittersweet. We've learned the hard way, Elise replied quietly. But it's not enough. We need to prepare. Price, how long before we can integrate this alien tech into our systems? Price's eyes were focused on a terminal, lines of code flashing across the screen. The shields will need tweaking. And I'm not sure how to integrate their weapons systems yet, but I can adapt our systems to match their power output. It'll take time, days, maybe weeks, but we have no choice. Elise turned to Dr. Cho. How are we doing with the Vraxis language? Can we learn anything else from their systems? We're close, Cho replied. The encryption is brutal, but I think I can crack their command codes if we have more time. Every second counts. Elise nodded, a fierce determination settling in her chest. Time is something we don't have. We need to strike before they can get a foothold in our system. We'll need every bit of technology and every ally we can find. She glanced at Kaler, whose strange, shimmering skin seemed to radiate a quiet power. Kaler, what can we do with the Siren's technology? Can we use it to fight back? Kaler hesitated, its violet eyes flickering with a mix of sorrow and resolve. The Sirens fought until the end, but we were outnumbered. Our technology is powerful, but the Vraxis adapt quickly. We were too late. You will need more than just weapons and shields. Elisa's gaze sharpened. What do you mean? You must unite, Kaler said, its voice heavy with the weight of history. Your people are scattered across worlds, fractured. The Vraxis thrive on division. If you stand alone, you will fall. But if you unite your forces, if you put aside your differences and fight as one, only then will you have a chance. Elisa's chest tightened with the realization of what Kaler was suggesting. Are you saying we need to rally the colonies? Earth, Mars, the outer colonies, everyone? Yes. And more, Kaler replied. You must seek out the others. The allies you have not yet met. There are those out there who have resisted the Vraxis for millennia. They may be scattered, but they will come to your aid if you ask. But first, you must prove that humanity can stand together. Elise nodded. We'll make it happen. The next few hours were a blur of activity. The Resolute prepared for its next move, sending out a broadcast to all nearby colonies, warning them of the Vraxis' impending assault. At the same time, Captain Torin began formulating a plan to rally the scattered human colonies. If humanity was to have a chance, it would need every ally it could find, and they would need to work together like never before. But as the Resolute jumped to the edge of the Proxima system to send the warning, a dark new reality set in. The Vraxis fleet was far closer than anyone had anticipated. The scouts were just the beginning. The full strength of the invasion force was already on its way. Elisa's stomach churned as the first distant flashes of the Vraxis warships appeared on the far horizon, the faint glow of their engines signaling the beginning of the end. Their fleet's massive, Patel said, his voice filled with disbelief. We'll need a miracle to hold them off. We'll get it, Elise said, her voice a mixture of resolve and defiance. Not because we're powerful. But because we will not back down. Not now. Not ever. The Vraxis fleet loomed on the horizon, a shadow hanging over the fragile remnants of human civilization. The massive armada was still a few days out, but the signs were undeniable. There was no time to waste. Elise Torin knew that their only hope now lay in unity, uniting humanity's fractured colonies, forging new alliances, and fighting as one. Captain, we've received a transmission from Mars, Lieutenant Patel reported, his voice tense. They've confirmed the Vraxis fleet's trajectory. They're ready to mobilize their defenses, but they don't have enough resources to hold out alone. They need reinforcements. Elisa's mind raced. Mars was a key strategic location. If it fell, Earth would be next. But the colonies were stretched thin, their resources strained, and their willingness to cooperate had always been a point of contention. She glanced at Dr. Cho, who had been working tirelessly to decrypt the Vraxis command codes. Any luck breaking their encryption? Elise asked, her tone sharp. We're close, but they're using an adaptive encryption system, Cho replied, her eyes glued to the data streams. We might have enough information to get a foothold in their communications, but we need to act fast. We can't afford to waste any more time, Elise said, stepping up to the tactical console. Patel, prepare a message to all major colonies. We're calling for a united front. Send it to Earth, Mars, the outer colonies, everyone. She turned to Kaler, who had remained stoic throughout the crisis, absorbing every piece of data and history. Can you help us make this plea for unity more convincing? Can the Sirens offer any support? Kaler nodded slowly, its voice somber. The Sirens tried to unite the galaxy under one banner, but the Vraxis crushed us before we could succeed. Your people, you must lead this. We will stand with you, but it is your strength, your will to fight, that will inspire the others. Elisa's eyes met Kaler's. Then we'll give them a reason to fight. Hours later, the Resolute's communications array hummed with activity as the crew sent out the rallying call to humanity's scattered colonies. The message was simple, but its weight was undeniable. Humanity stands at the edge of extinction. The Vraxis are coming to crush us, but we are not powerless. We will fight as one. Join us in the battle for our future. As the message went out, Elise turned her attention to the looming battle ahead. Prepare the ship. We need to set a course for Mars. We'll join their defenses and hold the line until reinforcements arrive. The next day, the Resolute dropped out of FTL travel just outside Mars orbit. The red planet loomed large, its surface bathed in a dim light. It had been humanity's second home, and now, It was a fortress in the making. Elise watched from the bridge as the planetary defenses activated, massive orbital cannons aimed at the approaching Vraxis fleet. "Looks like they're serious," Lieutenant Patel said, studying the data. "Mars has fortified its defenses, but they're still outnumbered. We need to hold them off long enough for the other colonies to respond." "Agreed," Elise said. "Price, prepare the Resolute for combat. We'll need all our firepower if we're going to make a dent in their fleet." "Understood, Captain," Price replied, his voice steady. "We've made adjustments to our weapon systems, but don't expect them to hold up forever against the Vraxis." Elise nodded. "We fight with what we have. We don't have time to waste." The battle began just as the first Vraxis ships reached the outer edge of Mars' atmosphere. Their sleek, dark ships cut through the void like blades, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts that shook the Martian surface. The orbital cannons fired in return, but the Vraxis ships' adaptive shields absorbed the strikes without difficulty. "We're getting hammered," Price said, his fingers flying across the controls. "Their shields are impenetrable. Our weapons are barely scratching them." "We need to find a weakness," Elise replied, her mind racing. She looked at the data streaming across the console, scanning for any sign of vulnerability. "Kaler, can you help us with their tactics?" Kaler's violet eyes narrowed as it analyzed the incoming Vraxis fleet. "The Vraxis rely on overwhelming force, but they also adapt quickly. If you hit them where it hurts, where their fleet is most concentrated, they may be forced to divert their resources. You must disrupt their coordination." "How do we do that?" Patel asked. Kaler's eyes flickered as it accessed the Vraxis battle network. "Their command vessel. If you destroy it, the rest of the fleet will be thrown into disarray. They rely on it to coordinate their attacks." Elise nodded, a spark of hope igniting in her chest. "Then we go after their command vessel. We disrupt their fleet, and we buy humanity the time it needs to fight back." The Resolute dove into the chaos of battle, its advanced siren shields flickering with each impact. The Vraxis fleet was relentless, but the crew of the Resolute was unyielding. With every maneuver, they harassed the Vraxis ships, drawing them closer to the heart of the battle. "We're almost in range of their command vessel," Patel called out, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "If we're going to do this, we need to make our shot count." "Price, are we ready?" Elise asked, her pulse quickening. "Ready, Captain," Price replied. "Firing solution locked." "Then fire," Elise ordered. The Resolute's weapons unleashed a concentrated barrage of energy fire, tearing through the Vraxis fleet and striking the command vessel. For a moment, everything seemed to pause. Then, the Vraxis command ship erupted in a burst of blinding light, its core destabilizing as it crumbled into debris. "Direct hit. The command vessel is down," Patel shouted. The remaining Vraxis ships faltered. Without their central coordination, they scattered, losing the cohesion that had made them so deadly. The orbital defenses on Mars found their mark, and the Resolute moved in to mop up the remnants of the disorganized fleet. "We did it," Patel said, his voice filled with disbelief. "For now," Elise replied, her eyes scanning the shattered remnants of the Vraxis armada. "But this is just the beginning. We've disrupted their attack, but there's still more to come. And we need every colony on board if we're going to finish this." As the battle winds down, the message of humanity's resilience spread like wildfire across the stars. The first step in uniting the colonies had been taken, but the war was far from over. Elise knew that they had only won a temporary reprieve, something much bigger was coming. But with every victory, humanity proved that the Vraxis had underestimated them, and that would be their greatest mistake. The shattered remnants of the Vraxis fight for humanity's future was just beginning, leaving Mars battered but standing. The orbital defenses were severely damaged, and the surface had taken some hits, but humanity had held its ground. The Vraxis command vessel was destroyed, throwing the enemy's coordinated attack into disarray, but the price had been steep. Elise Torin stood at the observation window on the bridge of the Resolute, gazing down at the scarred surface of Mars. The horizon was dotted with plumes of smoke and wreckage. But despite the damage, there was a spark of hope. The colonies had seen humanity stand tall against the Vraxis, and that spark was spreading. "Captain, we've received a transmission from Earth," Lieutenant Patel said, breaking the silence. His voice was filled with a rare sense of urgency. "It's from President Annika Pharaoh. She's requesting an immediate meeting with you." Elise felt a shift in the air. Earth's government had been slow to act after the first signs of the Vraxis threat, but Mars' defense had changed that. The victory, no matter how temporary, had united the colonies in a way nothing else had. If Earth was finally ready to take action, it could be the turning point in the war. "Patch it through," Elise ordered. The screen flickered for a moment before President Pharaoh's image appeared. She was seated in her office, her face hard but with a flicker of relief in her eyes. "Captain Torin," she began, her tone measured. "You've done something no one thought possible. You've bought humanity precious time. Mars is still standing, and that's more than we could have hoped for." "President Pharaoh," Elise replied, her voice steady. "Mars wasn't the only victory. We've sent a message to the Vraxis: humanity is not so easily broken." Pharaoh's eyes narrowed. "That's why I'm contacting you. We need to take the next step. The Vraxis are regrouping, and they'll be back stronger than before. The only way to defeat them is to unite every colony, every ship, every resource we have. We've already begun rallying the outer colonies, but we need more. We need you to coordinate a full-scale effort." Elisa's gaze hardened. She had known this moment would come. A single battle could not stop the Vraxis. Humanity would need to throw everything it had into this fight, or lose everything. "Understood," Elise replied. "I'll begin immediately. We'll need a joint command structure, a unified front. I can't do it alone." "You won't have to," Pharaoh said, her lips pressing into a tight line. "We've already begun the process of bringing together the major military fleets. But we need your ship, Captain. The Resolute will be the flagship of the coalition. You've proven yourself in battle, and now you need to lead the charge." The weight of the responsibility settled on Elisa's shoulders like a boulder. The entire future of humanity was riding on their next move, and she had to ensure they didn't falter. "I'll get to work," Elise said, her voice steady despite the burden of leadership. "The coalition won't fail." The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. The crew of the Resolute worked around the clock, preparing for the next stage of the fight. Earth's representatives had sent a fleet to Mars, and the outer colonies were beginning to mobilize. It was a slow process, but humanity was coming together. The cracks in the fragile alliance were starting to close, and Elise knew that this was their best, and possibly only, chance. "Captain, we've received word from the outer colonies," Patel said, his voice tense. "They're ready to join the coalition. But there's a problem. The Vraxis are already moving. A fleet just entered the outskirts of the Alpha Centauri system. They're cutting us off." Elise clenched her fists. They didn't have much time. The Vraxis had regrouped faster than anyone anticipated. "Price, can we jump to Alpha Centauri before they arrive?" "Possibly," Price replied, his eyes flicking across the console. "But it will be risky. The Vraxis will be patrolling that area, and our engines haven't been tested in a full-scale battle with their fleet this close." "We don't have a choice," Elise said, her jaw set. "Prepare for a jump. We're going to need every advantage we can get." The Resolute streaked through the stars, its engines pushing past their normal limits. The bridge crew worked in perfect harmony, the hum of the ship's systems a constant rhythm as they prepared for the next phase of the war. The outer colonies were ready, and Earth had pledged its full support. Now it was time to take the fight to the Vraxis, before they could advance any further. "Jump in 5, Price called out. "Get ready, Captain. We're pushing it to the edge." "Do it," Elise ordered, her voice unwavering. The ship shuddered as the jump drive activated, and the stars outside blurred into streaks of light. In the blink of an eye, they were in Alpha Centauri. The Resolute dropped out of FTL, and the sight that greeted them was as horrifying as it was vast. A Vraxis fleet, easily 10 times the size of the one that had attacked Mars, was already assembling. "We're here, Captain," Patel said, his voice filled with disbelief. "But we're not alone. The Coalition fleets are just coming out of jump. We've got seconds before the Vraxis engage us." Elisa's eyes locked on the approaching Vraxis warships. It's time to show them what humanity is made of. The first wave of the Vraxis fleet descended upon them, ships moving in coordinated formation. Their adaptive shields shimmered with an eerie glow, their weapons powered up for the strike. But humanity was ready. "Fire everything," Elise commanded. The Resolute's weapons unleashed a barrage of energy fire, tearing into the front lines of the Vraxis fleet. At the same time, the Coalition ships, Earth's military forces, Mars defenses, and the Outer Colonies fleets, opened fire, creating a symphony of destruction as the first shots of the battle rang out. "Enemy shields at 60%. Patel shouted. "We're making a dent, but not enough. We need to hit them where it hurts," Kaler said, its voice calm despite the chaos. "If you disrupt their formation, you'll break their cohesion. Focus on their command ships." Elise nodded, her mind calculating. The Vraxis were organized, but if they could take out their leadership, the rest would crumble. "Patel, Price, aim for their command vessel. Take it down." The Resolute dove into the fray, weaving through the chaos of the battle. Their torpedoes struck true, blasting through the Vraxis defenses and tearing apart their command ship. The explosion sent shockwaves through the fleet, causing their coordination to falter. "Command ship destroyed," Patel called out. "The rest of the fleet is scattering." Elise allowed herself a brief moment of triumph. Humanity had done it. For now. But she knew this victory was only the beginning. The Vraxis would regroup, learn, adapt, and humanity would need to be ready. "We've bought ourselves time," Elise said, her voice steely. "But the war is far from over." The victory at Alpha Centauri had shifted the balance, but it was not enough to end the war. The Vraxis, though stunned by the loss of their command vessel, would regroup. And Elise Torin knew that their next attack would be more devastating. The fight was only beginning. In the aftermath of the battle, humanity's fleets scattered across the galaxy, licking their wounds and preparing for what was to come. The Resolute, now a symbol of human resistance, was docked in a hidden base deep within the asteroid belt. The crew worked tirelessly, repairing the damage done during the battle and preparing for the next phase of their desperate war. Elise stood in the briefing room, surrounded by the Coalition leaders from Earth, Mars, and the Outer Colonies. Tension filled the air as they gathered around a holographic table, the faces of their leaders projected in a virtual circle. "Captain Torin, what's the next move?" asked President Pharaoh's representative, General Cole, his voice gruff. "The Vraxis may have been thrown off course, but they're still out there. And we can't afford to wait." Elise nodded, her expression resolute. "We need to hit them before they can rebuild. We know they're gathering their forces. We've seen the signs. If we don't strike first, they'll come for us again, and they'll be stronger than before." "What do you suggest?" another representative asked, his tone cautious. "We'll need to take the fight to their homeworld," Elise replied. "We've analyzed their movements, and they have a strategic stronghold at the edge of their empire. If we can strike their main manufacturing facility, we cripple their ability to build new ships and weapons." "That's insane," General Cole said, shaking his head. "Their homeworld is heavily fortified. We don't have the resources to stage an assault like that." Elisa's gaze hardened. "We don't have a choice. If we wait, we're as good as dead. The Vraxis are relentless, and they're only going to come at us harder. We have to show them that humanity will not be broken." There was a heavy silence in the room as the gravity of her words settled in. The Coalition leaders exchanged uneasy glances, but in the end, it was President Pharaoh's voice that came through. "She's right. We need to strike now, or we lose everything. We'll lend our full support to this mission, Captain Torin." You have our fleets at your disposal. Elise nodded, a flicker of gratitude passing through her eyes. Thank you. We'll move quickly. I'll need every ship ready for a full assault. We'll take the fight to the heart of the Vraxis Empire. The preparations began immediately. The Resolute was outfitted with the latest weapons and technology, including the alien systems from the Sirens, which had proven effective in the earlier battles. Price worked tirelessly, making final adjustments to their shields and weapons, while Dr. Cho decrypted more of the Vraxis data, hoping to uncover any new weaknesses they could exploit. We've managed to infiltrate more of their communications, Cho said, her voice steady but tinged with exhaustion. It seems they're still in disarray after the loss of their command ship. But we have to act before they regroup and adapt. Their homeworld is well guarded, and they'll be expecting us. Elise turned to the crew, her eyes sharp. This mission is dangerous. We're going deep into enemy territory, and there's a high chance we'll face overwhelming odds. But we've already proven that humanity can survive against the Vraxis. We can fight back, and we will. This is our chance to take the war to them. The fleet, now assembled, was a formidable force, Earth's ships, Mars' defenses, and the outer colonies' fleets, all working together under a single banner. Despite the lingering distrust between the various factions, the shared goal of survival had forged a fragile unity. And now, for the first time in centuries, humanity stood together as one. Elise gazed out at the fleet, her heart pounding in her chest. They were ready. The Resolute would lead the charge, and with it, the hopes of every human colony. The journey to the Vraxis homeworld would take them into the unknown, deep into enemy territory where no human had ventured before. We'll arrive at the edge of their territory within the next 24 hours, Patel reported from his station. If we're going to make it to their stronghold, we'll need to cross a heavily patrolled sector. I know, Elise said. But we can't afford to wait. Move out. The fleet moved at full speed, crossing the void toward the Vraxis Empire. The tension aboard the Resolute was palpable, each crew member understanding the enormity of their mission. They were traveling into the heart of enemy territory, a place where the Vraxis held absolute power. As they approached the Vraxis border, the first signs of danger began to show. Strange energy signatures appeared on their sensors, small fleets of Vraxis ships, on high alert, patrolling the sector. They were looking for any sign of human movement, and the coalition was walking straight into the heart of it. Captain, we're being tracked, Patel reported, his voice tight with anxiety. The Vraxis have spotted us. They're sending reinforcements. We'll be surrounded in moments. Elisa's mind raced. We knew this wouldn't be easy. Get us to the edge of their territory as quickly as possible. We can't afford to engage them here. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. But it was already too late. A massive Vraxis fleet appeared on their scanners, moving swiftly to intercept. The Resolute was outnumbered, but they had the advantage of surprise, and a plan. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Elise ordered, her voice cold and commanding. Engage them as we pass. We're not here to fight, we're here to win. The Resolute's engines roared to life as it surged forward, weaving through the enemy ships. The coalition fleet followed, launching a barrage of fire as they attempted to break through the enemy formation. For a moment, it felt like the battle would turn into an all-out brawl, but Elise kept her focus. They needed to break through, not annihilate the enemy. We've broken through their front lines. Patel shouted as they reached the Vraxis stronghold's outer defenses. We're nearly there. The Resolute led the charge into the heart of the Vraxis Empire, the goal now clear: destroy their manufacturing facilities, cripple their ability to wage war, and give humanity a fighting chance. As they entered the heart of the Vraxis Empire, Elise knew the battle that lay ahead would be the most difficult of her life. But it was a battle they could no longer avoid. The time for escape was over. The storm was here, and humanity would stand against it with everything it had. The Vraxis stronghold loomed large before them, a sprawling complex of massive, dark citadels stretching into the heavens. The planet, home to the heart of the Vraxis Empire, was a fortress, its surface covered by layers of defenses and surrounded by swarming fleets. The battle to reach this point had been long and hard, but the final test was only just beginning. Humanity had pushed its way into the lion's den, and now it was time to strike the killing blow. "We're inside their perimeter," Lieutenant Patel reported, his voice tense as the fleet moved closer to the Vraxis homeworld. "But they're ready for us. Their fleets are mobilizing. We'll have company soon." Elise Torin stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her eyes fixed on the vast landscape before her. The coalition fleet, though battered, was still intact, ready to strike the heart of the Vraxis Empire. But the enemy was not unprepared. In the moments after their arrival, swarms of Vraxis ships poured out of their defensive positions, heading straight for them. The battle had come to them. Now, they had no choice but to push forward. "Kaler," Elise said, her voice steady despite the tension. "We're going in fast. We need to get to their manufacturing facility and destroy it. Can you give us an edge?" Kaler's alien eyes flickered with ancient knowledge. "I can provide a temporary distraction. My people have knowledge of the Vraxis neural network. If you can get close to their command center, I can overload their systems. It will give you a window of opportunity." Elise nodded, determined. "Then we're doing this. No turning back." The Resolute surged forward, cutting through the incoming Vraxis forces. The coalition ships followed, launching every available weapon at the oncoming swarm. The Vraxis fleet responded with devastating fire, but the humans fought with relentless precision. It was a battle like no other, coordinated, desperate, and savage. "We're taking heavy fire," Price called out from his station. "Shields are holding, but we can't sustain this much longer." "We don't have a choice," Elise said, gripping the armrest of her chair. "Get us through. Focus on that gap in their defenses. We need to break through and reach their core." As the Resolute punched through the outer lines of defense, a massive explosion rocked the ship. The bridge shook violently as debris from a Vraxis warship exploded nearby. "Damage report," Elise shouted. "We've lost a section of the aft hull." Patel shouted back. "We're losing power to auxiliary systems." "We'll deal with it later," Elise said through gritted teeth. "Keep us on course." Ahead of them, the massive, fortified structure of the Vraxis manufacturing complex began to come into view. It was enormous, a city-sized fortress designed to produce the weapons and ships that had terrorized the galaxy for decades. But with each passing moment, the Vraxis forces closed in, trying to trap the Resolute before it could reach its target. "Kaler," Elise called. "It's time." Kaler's alien form shimmered briefly, and the air around the Resolute seemed to hum. In an instant, the Vraxis neural network began to flicker on their sensors, its pulse rippling with new, unnatural activity. The Vraxis ships faltered, their movements erratic as their command center systems overloaded. "We've got a window," Patel shouted. "They're in disarray." "Now's our chance," Elise said. "All ships, full speed ahead. Hit that facility hard." The Resolute accelerated, weaving through the confusion as the Vraxis ships tried to recover from the disruption. Their weapons' fire became erratic, missing their marks as the neural system failed to coordinate their attacks. "All weapons, target their core," Elise ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Take out their manufacturing facility. Every last one of those ships is a weapon, and we won't stop until they're gone." The fleet rallied behind the Resolute, opening fire with everything they had. Plasma blasts, torpedoes, and concentrated energy fire hammered the Vraxis complex. Each explosion rocked the landscape, sending shockwaves through the planet's atmosphere. It was a final, desperate push to cripple the Vraxis once and for all. "We're almost there," Patel said. "The facility's defenses are crumbling. We can hit them again, and this will be over." But as the Resolute closed in on its final approach, the skies above darkened with a new threat. A colossal Vraxis warship, larger than any seen before, emerged from the depths of the planet's atmosphere, its weapons charged and aimed directly at the heart of the fleet. Captain, that ship's power signature is off the charts. Price warned. It's launching its full arsenal. Elise's mind raced. The warship was a behemoth, an engine of destruction capable of obliterating entire fleets. If they didn't destroy it now, everything they had worked for would be in vain. All ships, focus fire on that warship. Elise commanded. We have to take it down now or we're all dead. The Coalition fleet threw everything they had at the massive Vraxis warship, but the enemy vessel retaliated with a barrage of unimaginable firepower. Explosions racked the fleet, causing ships to disintegrate in the blink of an eye. Shields are failing. Patel shouted, his voice strained. We can't keep up with their firepower. We have to take it down. Elise shouted again, fury burning in her chest. Price, prepare for a kamikaze run. We have no choice. Price hesitated, but Elise's unwavering gaze locked onto him. He knew what she was asking. It was the only way. We'll do it, Price said grimly. Get ready, everyone. This is it. The Resolute charged forward, heading straight for the heart of the Vraxis warship. The remaining Coalition ships provided cover fire as they engaged the Vraxis vessels surrounding them. As the Resolute approached the warship, Elise held her breath. They were too close to escape, but the ship had one last weapon, its sheer resolve. At the last possible moment, Price fired the Resolute's final torpedoes, launching them straight into the heart of the enemy vessel. A deafening explosion tore through the warship, the massive vessel shuddering before it exploded into a fiery ball of debris. Direct hit! Patel shouted. The warship is down. The Vraxis fleet, now leaderless and scattered, began to retreat in disarray. The momentum shifted. The remaining Vraxis forces faltered, and with their command structure shattered, they began to break apart. As the battle wound down, Elise stood at the bridge, watching the burning wreckage of the Vraxis warship as it drifted into the black void. The cost of this victory had been high, but humanity had proven something even more significant: they were unbreakable. Captain, Patel said, his voice filled with a mix of relief and awe. We did it. The Vraxis are retreating. We've won. Elise took a deep breath, allowing herself a brief moment of relief. We've bought humanity a future, she said quietly. But the war is not over. There's still work to be done. Kaler, standing beside her, nodded. This victory will echo through the stars. The Vraxis may have underestimated you, but now they know, humanity will never be broken. As the Coalition fleet regrouped and began the long process of rebuilding, Elise knew one thing for certain: the unbreakable spirit of humanity would endure, no matter the cost.